dropped, and it's showtime from downtown Winnipeg. Nice pass, a shot, they score! Shankly, Connor scores! What a stop by Hellebuyck! Nikolai Ehlers on the faceoff!
Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV.
Shout out to our producer Daniel Moss for that fantastic intro that he produced for this very podcast. I know he takes great pride in that, so congratulations to him and a job well done. This is Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. I am your host, Tyler Esquivel, alongside Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton and 680 CJOB's Jamie Thomas. Guys, I don't know about you, but this is the end of a long, arduous journey. As Mitch likes to say, we find our heroes.
Yes, we find our heroes.
Crawling in off all fours.
Yes.
As clearly I'm referencing the fact that the Winnipeg Jets, I believe, played 8 straight games in different time zones. And I will make the point, when the clocks fell back, and then when they spring forward and all that, there's a lot of complaining that goes on about that narrative. But then when the Winnipeg Jets have to travel and they say, oh, it's tough to come back from a time zone, and then people just go, well, you're a professional athlete. You should know how to be better. The answer is no. It is taxing on the body.
Yeah.
But moving on, the Winnipeg Jets had a bit of an issue the last number of days, but they fixed it on Saturday in Calgary with a 4-2 win. The issues that I'm talking about was a bit of a slide since you last heard from us on Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets fell 3-1 to Pittsburgh here at Canada Life Center, and then went out on the road, fell 3-0 to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and then they played a game that clearly didn't go their way on Friday afternoon in Minnesota, and then got things on the right track with a 4-2 win over the Flames. Mitch, just your thoughts on the week that was for the Jets. We don't have to get into too much gory details because, believe me, there was some gore involved there, but just what did you think of the Winnipeg Jets and the fact that they were able to rebound?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a gutsy performance. I think I've said that a number of times about the win on Saturday, but in the truest sense of the word, you're playing the team leading the Western Conference. They had been sitting there for 3 days just waiting for you. And the Jets played, I think the Jets played twice in the span that the Calgary Flames did not play a single hockey game. And then when they go into Calgary jumps on it. It's 2-0. And there just wasn't any quit. And it was impressive to see as they kind of rallied their way. I thought Kyle Connor's goal before the end of the first period in that one was massive. It just kind of gets that, not that the belief wasn't there, but all of a sudden you have this like, okay, here we go. Like we're not, it's not like Kyle Connor rang it off the post and it's just like, oh, there's another one. You know what I mean? So I thought that was helpful. And then Paul Stastny goes to the net, buries a rebound. That's the type of goal that the Winnipeg Jets have been looking for. And then, Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, and Kyle Connor do what they do off the rush. And speaking of doing what they do, Connor Hellebuyck, let's not leave him out of it, making 34 saves. That was absolutely massive. So given how things had gone throughout the week, the 3-1 loss to Pittsburgh, they played probably 2 out of 3 periods that they would have been, I think, pretty okay with. Third period kind of got away from them a little bit, and that just kind of was a constant theme from the players and Paul Maurice. The game in Columbus was, I think, that was the game that kind of personified how things were going. Jets kind of, I think, territorially had the advantage, but just nothing was going in. Pucks were bobbling off of sticks, and when they would bobble off sticks of the Winnipeg Jets, it would go back the other way and in the net. Case in point, Columbus's first goal. And then, I don't know, there apparently was a hockey game on the Friday in Minnesota. I don't really remember it. But to be able to rally back, win on back-to-back nights in Calgary, I think that was a huge boost for the team as they come home for a 4-game homestand.
Yeah, definitely an odd scenario with the afternoon game and then a back-to-back the next day, but not until 8 p.m. I remember sitting in the press box going, is this game ever going to start?
Yes,
I think it was like 8:15
late.
puck drop, too, so that was another, let's just drag this out even longer until these guys start again.
Not to mention the fact Jets fans had to stay up till practically past midnight to finish that one.
For a win.
Yes, definitely worth the wait, absolutely. Okay, so before we get into Jamie's next topic here, Connor Hellebuyck, he had some words after that game in Minnesota, so let's throw to that clip now.
I think just a little urgency, I mean, and it can't be from one guy. It can't be solo efforts. It's a unit. It's every single guy in that locker room, including myself. A little more urgency, and if it takes a 1-0 game, that's what we got to do. We got to give what the game is demanding of us right now.
Does that make tomorrow night, Connor, just because it's the end of a road trip and obviously a good opponent, does that add a little more importance to tomorrow night than?
Oh, tomorrow's on. Tomorrow, it's on. There's no more of this. We're gonna give it tomorrow.
All right, now that you've heard the clip, Jamie, just what does it mean to have a leader in Connor Hellebuyck say something like that and then go out there and back it up? Just how important were those words when you heard them, and just how the whole scenario played out?
I think we underestimate what goaltenders mean in the whole scheme of things in the hierarchy of leadership. And I remember Roberto Luongo was given the C in Vancouver, and a lot of people were poo-pooing that idea, and it didn't really turn out so well for the Vancouver Canucks. But what Connor Hellebuyck did the other night, saying what he said in Minnesota and then following it up in Calgary, is leadership. It kind of took away the attention from everybody else, and then you're looking, okay, Connor Hellebuyck has said this. How is he going to follow that up? And he delivered, but I like the way he took away the attention away from the team, brought it on himself, and then delivered afterwards. But even the fact they fall behind 2-0 on early in Calgary, and you're like, okay, oh my gosh, like how much gas do these guys have in a tank? Then he makes a huge save on Blake Coleman in the second period. He had a whole bunch of other ones that I'm not going to list off here, but you just 34 of 36, they were some pretty good grade A varieties for Connor Hellebuyck to make those stops. So for him to say that, take away the attention from the team, then deliver, I think it says everything you need to know about how important he is as a leader in the room. And the guy that plays the most minutes obviously is a leader in the most respects. So I admire him for doing that. And I also admire him a whole lot more after he gave the Jets a Vezina Trophy type performance in a game that they needed him to do that.
Paul Maurice, after the morning skate on Monday, had a really interesting quote about leadership, and that in order to be a leader, you need to have consistency. And I think that just draws right into what you're saying with Connor Hellebuyck. I mean, the man has been a model of consistency here for the past number of years. And when you talk about consistency, it's not necessarily on-ice production. That helps. But it's all the other things off the ice that, fans don't get to see. It's preparation, it's practice, it's hard work in the gym, it's mental. So I think all the things that you talk about with Connor Hellebuyck, he shows consistency in all parts of being a professional hockey player.
And never wavers. And we all, some people will roll their eyes like where he says, I like my game, when he has a tough night. But you can understand why he has that confidence, and he can say whatever he wants because he keeps playing well. So if he says, I like my game, and then has 4 or 5 bad games in a row, then you could see where people would be skeptical. But ever since he's kind of got that laser focusing on what he can control, it sure has changed him as a goaltender and as a leader in the Winnipeg Jets dressing room.
Mitchell, I don't think it can be understated, overstated, I don't know the word here, but just how big that win was on Saturday. And keeping in mind that following the loss to Pittsburgh, to Columbus, and we'll put the game against Minnesota aside, and even Vancouver to a certain extent, the Jets, they didn't necessarily hate their game. I think they probably had great disdain for a period against that Pittsburgh game, and then just didn't like the way things went for them in the Columbus tilt. So just how big was the win, not in terms of just snapping a losing streak, because I don't think it was all bad in that losing streak, and it was certainly much different than the losing streak that happened last season, the 7-game slide towards the end of the season. Paul Maurice has talked at length about how those two were very different, even though the results are essentially the same. But just how big was that win on Saturday, keeping in mind just all those other things that they did like?
So I'm a big believer in the fact that as a season goes on, obviously you're going to have some adversity and all that kind of stuff. But I'm a big believer in when the going gets tough, especially late in the season, and that's not even necessarily a losing streak. It's, every single game is tough. There's different, especially as we've seen over the last number of seasons, you go into the Stanley Cup playoffs, every game feels like 5 with the amount of storylines that kind of come from it and what you try to glean from it and everything. I just think you need certain points of the season that you can look back on and say, okay, this is how we handled this. This is how we handled this. This is the kind of team that we can be. And for the Winnipeg Jets, to be able to pick up a win when trailing at any point, you can say it as many times as you want. We gave up the first goal, but we know we can come back. We know we can come back. Having the body of work to look back on that you didn't necessarily give up, you didn't have a 2-0. You didn't give up 2 goals to the Calgary Flames, and you came back and the Calgary Flames are 0-20 on the season. That is a real good hockey team, as we've seen, and they've got 7 shutouts already this year. So already not a team that's going to be easy to score on. And not only do you come back and win, but you've come back and win against a team like that on the back end of a back-to-back when things aren't going well for you. You didn't all come apart. You all came together. And that, I think, is something that you can lean on as the season goes on. We're still, the Jets have played about 20-ish games. We got a long way to go here still.
Yeah.
But if you have these experiences earlier on in the season, by the time you get to the postseason, if everything continues to go well, you've got some experiences to lean on. Now, whether that's comebacks or guys being out of your lineup, like the Jets had already this season with Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler out. They've got the ability to win games without, 2 of their big guns, 2 of their leaders. You have that in your back pocket. You have comebacks in your back pocket. These are things that are tangible things that you can, put on the board in the room, or you can talk about and be able to show that, we have the ability to do all of these things. That is in this room. And then you're able to garner a belief, a real strong one, going into every single night, no matter what comes your way. And I think there's a lot of power in that. And that game against the Calgary Flames is something that the team can look back on and, have as one of those experiences.
Jamie, like we kind of talked about off the top of the show, the Jets have had a tough schedule in terms of time zones, but some rest is about to come on their plates. Thank gosh, for everybody involved. The Winnipeg Jets obviously closing out this stretch with a game on Monday as we record this against the Arizona Coyotes. But then they don't play again until Friday against the New Jersey Devils. So a bit of a break here. They get Tuesday off, as it says on the team's calendar right now. Just how important is it to get this rest, but keeping in mind that the momentum still needs to happen, hoping that the Winnipeg Jets get a win on Monday night as we're recording this. And also thinking about this too, last season there was a couple of gaps in the schedule similar to this. Now the scheduling and the way things worked with the All-Canadian division, there was a few more breaks, and then they came out of those breaks and didn't have the best efforts, i.e. what I'm talking about for the game on Friday.
Right.
Then also you sweep the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs. You have a very large break in between your first and second round series, and then, things did not go the way they wanted to against Montreal. How do you guard against that while also balancing the rest?
Well, first, let's start with Monday, right? And I think it's another one of those nights, clearly like Saturday, where you're trying to find a couple of things you have to focus on first, not try and do everything right, because there's not much left in the gas tank at this point. So you Saturday get goaltending, and you didn't sacrifice defense for offense. And that's another lesson learned from the Minnesota game. Like, we can talk about the comeback and everything in Calgary, but Paul Maurice can just point to the video and go, okay, this is what happens when you guys completely blow out your energy trying to search for goals, then you have nothing left coming back the other way. So I think you learned something from that. And now you get into the break, and I think you welcome it, because this schedule has been stupid. I don't think there's many teams you can say that have what the Jets have had to go through here, going out to the West Coast 3 times in the first month of the season. And it'll be the final time will be in the Seattle-Vancouver game. So.
Calgary's so that's only 1 hour difference.
Yeah. So I mean, they've had some interesting times ahead, but the rest that they're going to get is much needed, because I think we don't understand what COVID, how it can affect players like Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele. And I know Mark Scheifele didn't have it as bad as Blake Wheeler did, but there hasn't been any studies really at this point to see how this really affects you overall. There's had reports of some players not being able to get back to it as fast as others. It's Paul Maurice said this today in the broadcast meeting, that it's like a concussion. Some guys will get rocked and they'll get up and you'll wonder, well, why they don't have a concussion. And then other guys will you don't even know where the hit is to see where it happened. So that was the best way to quantify what it is. So Blake Wheeler and Mark Scheifele, this will be great for them. I don't have any doubts they'll come out of the rest not laser focused because of the veteran group that they are. So I don't think they're looking past anything. I think they look at today, they worry about Friday, and they move on. But the schedule gets really complicated with the Leafs and Carolina coming up after that New Jersey game. So I think they'll look forward to it. They'll get right back to practice likely on Thursday, and then prepare for Carolina. So I think there's just there's too many veteran guys in that room for this to fall apart. And this isn't a year like it was last year where it's just all over the place. Nothing made sense. There's cancellations here and there that messed up the structure of the schedule too. So I just don't have any doubts they come out of this break, and it's much needed and well rested, and they feel better heading to that game starting on Friday against New Jersey.
As I'm sure you saw on our graphic for this episode of Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, Dave Ellett is our guest here. Jamie, you did the interview with him. Why don't you tee it up?
Well, with the Jets 1.0, you understand all the times that the Edmonton Oilers ruined anything that the Jets had going for them in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But Dave Ellett ran into a certain juggernaut known as Wayne Gretzky, not just as a Winnipeg Jet, but as a Toronto Maple Leaf, as a New Jersey Devil. There's a long list of that. And the fire still burns on game day. I've always wondered how long that it takes to go away when you retire from the National Hockey League, but it still sounds like that's going for Dave Ellett when I spoke with him the other day.
Jets fans, help the Winnipeg Jets fight cancer by bidding on a warm-up worn Winnipeg Jets Hockey Fights Cancer lavender jersey. The jerseys were worn during the warm-up of the Hockey Fights Cancer game on November 22nd. The auction is on now and runs through December 5th. To place your bid, please visit winnipegjets.com/hockeyfightscancer. All proceeds raised will be donated directly to Cancer Care Manitoba, going to support children and youth in their fight against cancer. Help hockey fight cancer today.
Hi, this is Blake Wheeler, and you're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
Dave, you were here recently to watch a Winnipeg Jets game. Does the fire still burn on game day for you?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think, that was, you can do all your off-ice training and practicing and that, but game day is always was certainly a different emotion. Getting ready for, spend the day getting yourself prepped, not only mentally, but physically for the competition and the excitement and the adrenaline flow of what the actual game experience brought to you.
Is that what you miss the most? Is that adrenaline, or what else do you miss about game days?
Well, the competition is really something that, you can kind of find other ways, but really in a game situation, especially as a defenseman, there's going to be multiple one-on-one battles that, it's a challenge. Are you going to win it, or is the other guy going to win that battle? So, real, physical, mental competition. It's really different in the day-to-day world as compared to an NHL hockey game.
How long did it take you to kind of adapt that wasn't a part of your life anymore?
Oh, that's probably one of the harder parts of retirement.
Yeah.
At times I would wake up in the morning or middle of the night thinking that I'm missing a game or missing a practice or things like that. So I don't think you personally, I don't think you ever get it out of your system.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you just over time, it's sort of wanes on how often or how strong those feelings still are.
I saw you at the Heritage Classic with the Flames and the Jets. How much was the fire and the rivalry still there for you whenever you see a member of those Calgary Flame teams?
Well, actually, we just had our Coyotes alumni golf tournament here this past weekend in Arizona, and we're very fortunate that a bunch of the Calgary Flames come up to support us. So Colin Colin Patterson, Ronnie Stern, and Lanny McDonald were here. So, that was, we talk about it a lot, that when I first broke in the league, the mid to late 80s, that Smythe division was so strong. It was just a bit of a crying shame that there wasn't a different format or playoff format at that time, because, you look at it, by the time the Smythe division conference playoffs had finished, typically 2 of the top 5 or certainly 2 of the top 10 teams in the league were eliminated in the first month of the playoffs. But certainly those battles, it was so tough. We'd beat Calgary, and I'd pretty much take everything we had to beat Calgary, and then sitting there waiting as Edmonton. So it just made for a tough battle.
One thing I remember you telling me when we had a conversation here in Winnipeg at True North Square was a guy you absolutely loathed playing against with Glenn Anderson, but became a good friend of yours. What's that friendship like now these days?
Well, I haven't seen him much, in recent years, especially with, a lot of events and old timer games being canceled due to COVID. But that's a classic example of played against him for years in Winnipeg and just hated the guy. Hated playing against him, just hated what we perceived he was all about. And then, while I was in Toronto, lo and behold, Grant Fuhrer and Glenn get traded to Toronto and become teammates. And that's when you see firsthand, like, wow, this guy is such a intense competitor, and just wanted to do whatever it took to win, and help his teammates. And, he was just, a totally opposite. That's a classic. We talk about it a lot of times. Never fails. A guy you hate playing against the most, when he becomes your teammate, becomes one that you realize why you hated playing against him, because you see it firsthand every day. And with Glenn, he was just such a competitor, and, that burning desire to win.
Right. And now that I think about it, that 93 Maple Leaf team was so close and such a great team. That must have been a hell of a ride that year to the conference final.
Well, yeah, it was, because that was a real turnaround year for the organization. Obviously, when I got traded there, organization was in the doldrums. Cliff Fletcher came in and made a couple pretty remarkable deals, one being the Doug Gilmour trade. So that second half of that season, that team chemistry started to build. Mm-hmm. And so when we came that 92, 93, we really came together as a team, and we had a great year. We were really unheralded, and, besides Doug, no real known superstars, just a big group team effort, and worked and really battled for everything we had. And, the playoffs came around, and things kind of started to fall into place, and everything was looking good until we ran into number 99 again. And, we had that semifinal series against LA. We had them.
Yeah.
And then, Wayne really picked up his game those last 2 games and really won the series for him.
It must have been a case of, here we go again for you, right? I imagine with Wayne Gretzky taking you guys down to Game 7 and showing up in Game 7.
Yeah, he took me out, obviously, quite a number of times in Winnipeg. And then that year in Toronto, and then there was another year while I was in Toronto, he got traded to St. Louis. They beat us out. And then when I was with New Jersey, he was with the Rangers, I believe. They beat us out. So it's just like, tired of playing 99 in the playoffs.
We shall not mention 99 ever again in these conversations. Dave, you battled for a long time, and a lifelong friend with Dale Hawerchuk. Clearly, we're, the city of Winnipeg, his former teammates, friends, family, still kind of reeling with the loss of Dale. How are you feeling today about not having Dale Hawerchuk in your life?
Wow, it's a big loss for me personally. We're best of friends, best of teammates. Our families were, very close. We had both purchased condominiums down in Florida that we spent a lot of time at. And so it's really difficult. Like, he was a really close friend of mine. Actually, I was talking to a friend, and when I did that interview with you there a couple of weeks ago in Winnipeg was probably about the first time I had a conversation about Dale where I, was able to get through it without choking up. So, we're moving forward, but certainly, there's moments where I think that phone is going to ring and it'll be his voice on the end of the phone, or, maybe that he might just walk around the corner and see that big smile of his. But, but on the other side, we were very fortunate. I feel very fortunate that I got to become so close a friend and almost a brother to, such a great man.
When the Jets made the selection of Cole Perfetti and Mrs. Howardchuk made the selection, how did you think she handled that situation?
Well, she did great, and that's really not in Crystal's world. She's very private and laid back person, and I thought she did a heck of a job. And it was just first of all, I was pretty surprised they convinced her to do it. But so
you're
glad
probably
she
that's never going to happen in a million years, right, Dave?
Yeah, it is. And but she did a great job.
And with the Ducky Pond Hockey Classic, we talked about this. It's January 13th to the 16th at Camp Manitou. I understand you can't make it, but maybe take us through. Did you ever play any outdoor hockey with Dale on a pond somewhere or on an outdoor rink?
Oh, we used to, yeah. And he had a place. I forget where he was living, but a 10-acre piece, and it had a pond on it. So every once in a while, we'd go out there and bring a few of the guys and have a little bit of fun. But certainly for all of us, playing pond hockey or outdoor hockey in the winter was really part of our lives. Like we probably, I can honestly say I probably spent more time on an outdoor arena, back when I was younger in Ottawa than I spent on indoor arenas. So, anytime you get a chance to go out and sort of turn the clock back like that, or really just do something that you did so often as a child, is a great experience. And unfortunately the team I'm coaching, we're in Chicago for an event that weekend, can't make it, but I'm sure that's going to be obviously a first-class event, but so much fun. So,
and in August of 2022, it was scheduled. The Dale Howardchuk statue is going up. You were with me at True North Square, very close to where it's going to go up. What does it mean to you that the Jets are doing that for Dale and for the Howardchuk family?
Well, I think it's great, but that's just typical how the Jets operate with class, and I think they all understand what he meant, not only to the city, but the province. So to have something there that's going to be there forever, I think is a great deal. And I think that'll be a very emotional day for a lot of people. So look forward to that happening.
Do I expect to see you here next August, Dave?
Well, I will do whatever I can to get there for it.
Thank you so much for your
I imagine I will be there.
Thank you so much for your time, Dave. I got to talk to you twice within a month. That's a great thing. And as always, it's great to catch up with you and share memories of Jets 1.0. And I wish you all the best and talk to you soon.
Well, and same to the Jets 2.0. Keep it going. Nice long playoff run will be really good.
We're going to get you a ticket if that happens, Dave.
Sounds good to me.
Shop where the players shop. Jets Gear and TrueNorthShop.com are your authentic team stores. Make sure to stock up on all your favorite Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose merchandise today. Visit one of the 5 Jets Gear locations or shop online at TrueNorthShop.com.
All right, sliding along on this episode of Ground Control, the Winnipeg Jets, as we record this on Monday this evening, they take on the Arizona Coyotes. Crossing our fingers for a win. They'll get some rest, much needed, as we spoke about earlier. Friday, the Winnipeg Jets take on the New Jersey Devils for their first meeting of the season. That goes at 7 p.m. And they continue the 4-game homestand on Sunday. The Toronto Maple Leafs come into town. Dun, dun, dun. And then they close out the 4-game homestand with a matchup against the Carolina Hurricanes on Tuesday. That one should be an exciting game. We'll talk about that Sunday versus the Leafs matchup in a little bit in greater detail, as there's a pretty big milestone slated to be for that night. Obviously, we don't know if it will be hit, but that's where it is projected. We'll get into that in a little bit. Mitchell, talk to me about the week ahead for the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, rest, number one. Well, I guess number one would be the Arizona Coyotes. You definitely want to win that game. It's just, and it's not going to be easy. I thought Paul Maurice had a real good quote this morning, just talking about how you look at the last 5-6 games or so from the Arizona Coyotes defensively, they're actually pretty good. So it's not like it's going to be, up and down the ice for the Jets on Monday. They have to do a lot of good things well to be able to come out on top. So they're usually quite good in not taking teams for granted, if you will, or taking them lightly. I would expect nothing different. But still, it's a hockey game that you have to go out and be at your best to be able to win. So there's that. And then the rest. That's the biggest thing that the Winnipeg Jets get out of this week for sure. You'll be able to have a few days before your next game. You're able to be in one time zone for a few days, which is going to be nice for the Jets, and just be able to see their families, all that kind of stuff. And I think there's a lot of positives that do come out of that. And then you get right back into game action against the New Jersey Devils on the Friday at Canada Life Center. And the Devils, they're above 500 this year. They're a team that comes in, I believe that at this point, they are 9-6-4. So a team that, has obviously taken some strides this season. They've always been a team that's pretty quick. They've got a lot of pace up front. They got some defensemen that can move the puck. And it's going to be the first game of a quick 2-game road trip for them. They've spent the majority of this week at home. They just beat the Philadelphia Flyers on Sunday by a score of 5-2, and then they have the San Jose Sharks on Tuesday. So even though they are going to be traveling into Winnipeg on Thursday, Devils will still be a rested team as well, because they don't have a game on the Wednesday. They'll travel the Thursday and they'll play the Jets. So there's that. And then you talked about the game against the Toronto Maple Leafs on Sunday. We'll get into that in a little bit, but the Toronto Maple Leafs are a team that is absolutely surging right now. Had a little bit of a rocky start to the season, but it just goes to show that, no matter what your roster looks like, sometimes you just kind of hit a rough patch. And the Toronto Maple Leafs started a little shaky, but right now look absolutely fantastic. So that'll be a big challenge and a big game and a fun night, I think, at Canada Life Center, as it always is when there's an Original Six, especially a Canadian team in town. And then, Svech versus Svech.
Right.
On Tuesday.
Well,
yes, I was thinking about that a little bit yesterday. I was like, oh, Carolina comes soon. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. I'm sure there will be some content around that as well. But Carolina is another team that just, especially the last few seasons, has just been so good. A team that, we talk a lot about, analytics or shot attempts and all that kind of stuff. Carolina is routinely at the top of that. Just a team that gets a lot of pucks to the net. They're real quick. And they've been getting the goaltending for the most part this season. So they're another tough battle. So while the New Jersey Devils, hovering around NHL 500, I guess you could say, a little bit above that, Toronto and Carolina, those are going to be two real stiff tests to close out the road, close out the homestand for the Jets. So looking forward to seeing how the Jets game progresses as they come out of this winless skid, hopefully carry the momentum into the game against Arizona, empty the tank, if you will, get a few days, and then the competition continues to ramp up over the course of the homestand.
If you'd like to attend one of these home games at Canada Life Center, tickets are available on our website, winnipegjets.com/tickets. Some great seats are available, and some deals as well that have been flying off the shelves too. So if a game on this homestand doesn't tickle your fancy, I'm sure there's another day that would work for you and your family and or friends.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming, so think about that too. As I alluded to earlier, the big milestone is Blake Wheeler's 1,000th NHL game. That is, what an accomplishment that will be for the captain of the Winnipeg Jets to hit, especially to do it here at home against the Leafs, no less. A huge day. We'll get into some of the things that you can expect from Jets TV and the rest of the content machine here at headquarters in a little bit. But Jamie, just 1,000 games, it's a pretty broad question I'm going to throw your way, but just what does that mean? And for Blake to be able to do it at home, what he's done for this city, for the franchise? I just don't think you can talk about this gentleman enough when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets.
You automatically go to the 2 91-point seasons back-to-back for Blake Wheeler when I think of him, and that's the short time here I've been in Winnipeg. But I think a lot that comes from him is the ability to show free agents and players that have been traded here, the discussions to be traded here, that this is a great place to be, and he is the focal point. And I know Mark Scheifele's here, and I know Connor Hellebuyck's here, and Kyle Connor helped that, but Blake Wheeler kind of stirs the drink when it comes to who you should be talking to about the organization. He is the face of the Winnipeg Jets, and is the all-time leading scorer for the franchise. Did it in Minnesota where he started playing. My broadcast partner, Paul Edmonds, tried to get Wheels to bite on the question of what 1,000 games meant to him, because it was 996 the other night in St. Paul, and to get him to ask what it meant to come back to where it all started. But he doesn't like to speak about himself. But the way he's carried himself, the way he's led this franchise to one of the more successful teams over the past 4 or 5 years just tells you a little bit about Blake Wheeler, and then the things he does in the community, combining with Cancer Care Manitoba Foundation with the Ride Inside Wheel with the Wheelers. Just produced $330,000 the other day, just earlier this month. So he does the little things there, but just the constant. It just what to expect from Blake Wheeler night in and night out. When he's not going, it just seems like the Jets aren't going as well. So it's really hard to quantify with him. And he's very humble about how he's produced for this organization. But 1,000 games, I think, will be a great opportunity, especially with an original 6 team in town. And I'm touching wood as we say this because a lot of things can change over the next 6 days before the 1,000th game, that he'll get to that point. But for the Leafs to be in town and a big crowd, and it'll be just a lot of people paying attention to the game, I think it's perfect that lines up that day. But on the ice, off the ice, Blake Wheeler is the Winnipeg Jets, and it's a well-deserving accomplishment for him to get to this milestone.
All right, well, in unison, let's knock on some wood here. Yeah. That does happen on Sunday at home. Mitchell, last season, Paul Stastny hit his 1,000th game. Obviously, no fans in the stands for that one, so that was kind of a bummer there. But there will be fans in the stands no matter when Blake does this. Just tons of content that came out of that last year, and obviously it's going to be done up right for Blake, our captain here in Winnipeg. Just what are you working on ahead of that big day?
Well, as much as we talked a little bit earlier in the podcast about how the break between games is going to be key for the Winnipeg Jets, it'll also be key for the content team to put all the finishing touches on this stuff. The main thing for me, obviously, I write a lot of stuff for the website, so we're going to do a longer extensive piece on Blake Wheeler, and just hearing from obviously teammates and whatnot about him as a leader and how he's progressed over those games, and obviously the milestones that he's hit in terms of franchise points. First player in franchise history to hit 700 points with the organization. So pretty much if there's a first for the franchise, Blake Wheeler's been one of the guys that has been doing it. So it's really hard to encompass it all into words, and I thought Jamie did a really good job actually on the last one, because when you asked him, I was like, I don't even know where I would start, and let alone try to encapsulate it all. So it's going to be that'll be one of the things that we do, obviously, on the Jets TV Live pregame show presented by Budweiser. That we'll have some video as well. From the video side, I know you guys are working on stuff as well.
Yeah, the video squad has just kind of a retrospective of his career, just sort of a timeline piece. I believe there will be some videos from teammates, former teammates, friends sent in as they always typically do for these types of big things. Myself personally, working on a little piece not tied to his NHL career, tied to his hockey career back in Minnesota. As I'm sure some fans would remember, he scored a huge championship clinching goal, a diving play. So we actually ended up getting some comments from Alex Goligoski of the Minnesota Wild. Shout out to Chris Barrier, I think is his name, with the Wild's content team for getting that interview done for us. Cool little piece, just kind of talking about the moment that goal went in, and just sort of everything, everybody's different perspectives. So pretty neat. Lots of content. You can all find that on winnipegjets.com. The social channels will be lit up with Blake Wheeler stuff on Sunday and probably into Monday too, provided it does happen then.
It's going to happen. It has to happen.
And I think we also have a bit of a big interview hopefully planned with Blake. I think there was some chatter about just sort of a talk after he hits the milestone. Maybe then he will answer that question that Paul Edmonds was trying to get to. But in the meantime, let's keep going, and let's go get a nap after this.
There we go.
All right, and I hope everybody listening to this takes a nap. Take 5 if you need it.
It's been grueling watching and listening to this team this season.
All right, so on behalf of myself, Tyler Esquivel, Jets TV's Mitchell Clinton, and 680 CJOB's Jamie Thomas, thanks so much for downloading the podcast. We appreciate it every single week. And have yourself a great week. Go Jets, go, and enjoy that nap.
This is Big Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, hosted by Jets TV. For Jets news, videos, and more, head to winnipegjets.com.
Proceed, enable.